Generally, arriving immigrants knew people from their towns in Europe, and they grouped together for safety and comfort. A system of ethnic neighborhoods emerged. In parts of New York City, you could walk for blocks and never hear a word in English.
My father arrived in New York, I think about 1905. He didn't go into a German section or an Italian section or a Russian section. He went into a Jewish section where he knew people. And that's where most of the immigrants went, because they couldn't speak the language.
Different people sort of moved into occupations where others like them had been before. So you find the Irish coming in, they go into the police department, they go into the fire department. The Italians, they go into sanitation, they go into construction. The Jews go into the garment district, shopkeepers, small real estate.
My father worked for a clothing manufacturer, and he pressed clothes that were completed before they were shipped out. And in those years, like in Europe, they had marriage brokers, old grandmas, women that found a woman available for a man or a man available for a woman, whatever. See, there's no love, anything. That's a bunch of baloney among the immigrants that come over. So my father married my mother several years after he came to this country. And I wasn't the first child, I was the second.
Be careful, please. The hall is dark, and you might stumble over the children pitching pennies back there.
While neighborhoods did provide a physical and emotional barrier to the outside world, living conditions in the tenements were primitive.
At the front of the building there was a window, at the back of the building there was a window, and in the middle there were 2 rooms without windows. That's if you had 4 rooms. Some people only had 2 rooms.
We lived in a tenement building. There was a kitchen, a living room, and a bedroom. Now, my father and mother had 1 bed, and the children all slept in another bed. We slept sideways. And we were that young that they all fitted in, so there was, all 6 of us lined up. In the summertime, I know several times I remember I'd sleep on a fire escape.
Even if you had your whole family with 3, 4, 5, 8 children, you still took in a boarder or 2. People slept all over. They slept on the floor, they slept on the sofas. In some instances, in some cities, you had the beds being used 24 hours a day in 8-hour shifts. I mean, the poor people literally were on top of one another. And it was not a healthy situation.
The terrible world of the tenements gave rise to a new social reform movement. Reforms were passed, but slowly and with only modest gains for the immigrant tenants.
In 1901, New York State becomes the first state that requires windows to be built in every room and indoor plumbing in the buildings. So you can imagine what it was like before then, and if New York is the first state in 1901, what about all these other cities where people came? Boston, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Chicago, Cincinnati, and so forth.